Ohio's #1 choice for news. Cleveland's own Fox 8 News starts now.
Keeping students in class. Thank you so much for joining us for Fox 8 Noon at Noon. I'm Todd Meany. After thousands of kids have been sent home to quarantine because of state COVID exposure at schools, the state health department is now modifying those guidelines to keep students in class. Adrienne DiPiazza live in the newsroom for us with the details on this. Adrienne, good morning.
Good afternoon to you, Gabe. These guidelines apply to kids who are exposed at school, and the entire goal is to prevent students who are not sick from having to stay home and miss valuable learning time. Under the new guidelines, which are not mandatory, kids exposed to COVID in school can quarantine in class as long as they wear a mask for 14 days, monitor for symptoms, isolate and get tested if they have symptoms, and then stop their masking if they test negative 5 to 7 days after exposure. And for extracurriculars like band and sports, kids can keep playing as long as they wear a mask when possible, get tested immediately after learning of exposure, and test again 5 to 7 days after. Ohio Department of Health Director Dr. Bruce Vanderhoff says the school environment is very safe, and masking, distancing, and other measures have really cut down on cases.
The school environment has been structured by our schools in such a way that with masking, we have demonstrated again that there is a very low risk of a contact who develops COVID-19 then transmitting that on to other students. The evidence on the ground that has given us confidence to offer this alternative to out-of-school quarantine.
Now, students who are vaccinated or wearing masks already do not have to quarantine at home. Also, these rules apply only to students who are exposed at school and not elsewhere in the community. Health officials in Lake County have already said, Todd, that they are also recommending this for their schools, hoping to keep more of these kids in school when they're not sick.
Adrienne DiPiazza live in the newsroom for us. Adrienne, thank you. Good update there. The Beechwood Board of Education expected to vote tonight on a new policy that would either mandate the COVID-19 vaccine for all staff or require them to be tested weekly. The policy would also include students who are 16 and older who participate in extracurricular activities. The superintendent says this vax or test plan comes after the FDA fully approved the Pfizer vaccine for those ages. About 80% of the Beechwood City School staffs are vaccinated. If approved, this proposal would be the first of its kind in Cuyahoga County. Well, it's the final Monday in October. Hard to believe. Halloween is coming up on Sunday, so will the weather hold out for all the communities trick-or-treating this weekend? And what's ahead for the rest of the day? Scott Sable has a look.
Yeah, the forecast shows increasingly more cold areas, cold periods here, and the way it's going now, temperatures are going to start to drop. Right now, the showers that we had this morning moved out quick. We had some breaks of sun, and now we're having additional showers moving back through the area here. Cleveland, Akron, Canton, eastern areas, we're also seeing another break and then another round of showers just to the west of Sandusky. These are now moving back out over the lake. So this is how it's going to go, at least for the next several hours. All right, so this rain moves out. We're going to get more breaks. Temperatures are already rising into the lower 60s. If we see any sun, it'll be short-lived. Now, the secondary line is the one that's now developing right here. This is on the front end of that low. So this line will be the one that's going to start to come in late this afternoon, early evening. That one's the one we're going to have to watch. Temperatures behind starting to drop into the 40s. So far, we're looking pretty decent here. But once we get past about 4 or 5 p.m., the heavier rain will start to shift further east. So we're looking at about a 4-hour window where we could be looking at pockets of heavy rain right here. There's 3:30, and then look at the shades of yellow, and the warmer colors indicate that we're probably going to end up with some thunderstorms out of this. Now, the fact that this low is very strong, and we have this front coming through, some of these storms, again, could be fairly strong, fairly potent early to mid-evening. We'll have to keep an eye on the potential now for some strong thunderstorms. Could we have some severe weather? The prospect is still there. It's low, but it's still there. We'll talk more about that and look ahead to the remainder of October and then head into early November, see whether or not these regions of cool air and the depth of the cold is going to continue to get even worse.
All right, Scott, thanks, man. East Cleveland police asking for your help. They're trying to track down the guy who punched a complete stranger at a gas station and killed the man. It happened at the Express gas station on Euclid Avenue about 3:15 Saturday morning. Police say the two strangers got into a verbal argument inside the gas station. The suspect then punched the victim, dragged him outside, took off in a blue car. The victim was rushed to the hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Residents plan to be extra aware of their surroundings.
I have to, especially being a woman, to be aware of my surroundings, When I go in, I look around. When I come out, I look around. I check the back seat of the car before I get in it. So, yeah, that is something to be worried about.
The victim we know is a 38-year-old man who has been identified, but his name has not been released yet. Crime Stoppers is now offering a $2,500 reward to anybody who can help lead them to an arrest. Meanwhile, the investigation into a hit and run that left a woman dead back in February is still ongoing. 27-year-old Keisha Garner walking to the grocery store when she was struck crossing Kinsman Road near East 145th. She was taken to the hospital where she later died. Keisha leaves behind an 8-year-old daughter. Police believe the suspect in this case was driving a 4-door car, silver or gray with a black roof, but that's all they know right now. That's why Crime Stoppers is also offering up to $5,000 to anyone with information about this case. The man convicted of shooting and killing a Bob Evans waitress in April will be sentenced. Richard Nelson, found guilty of aggravated murder in the death of 38-year-old Rebecca Jean Rogers. She was just working her shift at Bob Evans back on April 16th when Nelson shot her several times in what police say was a domestic dispute. The suspect ran out a back door. Police later apprehended him in the city of East Canton. Firefighters had to evacuate a local ice rink Sunday afternoon due to dangerous levels of carbon monoxide. This was at the Pond ice skating rink out in Auburn Township, just east of Chagrin Falls. The Fox 8 I-team has learned paramedics took at least 3 people to the hospital after they were exposed to the odorless, colorless gas. Firefighters then worked as fast as they could to evacuate about 100 people who were inside at the time. Investigators now working to determine what caused the leak. As for the pond itself, they plan to reopen later this week. Well, if you're a fan of Christmas ale, it's on sale now across the Buckeye State. The Great Lakes Brewing Company held its first pour on Thursday, and they're expanding the legend of the holiday brew. Fans in Cleveland got the chance to take home their beloved beer by purchasing it from the gift shop there on Friday, but Great Lakes is going to do some first pours around the area, places like Newport, Kentucky, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and down in Stowe, Ohio. Okay. Great time for Great Lakes beer. Coming up here on Fox 8 News, they're known for being crazy good, but one woman doesn't think so. Still to come this noon hour, the reason why she's suing the makers of Pop-Tarts and what she wants creators to do next.
Thank you.
Plus, Central Perk lost its #1 barista.
If you'd like to go to a movie with me.
Up next, a look at the life of James Michael Tyler as we know him, Gunther. Story after the break.